Okay, you guys, I think we're going to start. Yeah? Okay, if the technician tells us that we can. First of all, thank you for being here in such a large number. I'm very happy to see that there's a lot of interest about this panel. Last year, we've done it for the first time, and the interest was also quite overwhelming. I'm very happy that this happens. Before I introduce our lovely panelists, since we have a lot of girls here who maybe are not very familiar with the gaming industry, I just want to say a few words about it. The video game industry is actually one of the dominant cultures of our times. It's also spearheading digitalization, and it's one of the most beloved and easy to reach forms of artistic expression these days. In any creative industry, diversity is very important to make the creative process even more, let's say, enlarged than it is at this point. Diversity is needed. It doesn't actually halter the creation of any creative artistic expression, gaming included. And because diversity is needed, we need to have more women in the gaming industry. It's actually an industry that is much more welcoming than people think. And one of the reasons why we do these panels and we invite young girls to come here is because we want to block this kind of misconceptions in the sense of girls thinking that they wouldn't be welcome in the industry here. As I said and will say again, diversity doesn't halt creativity, it actually enables it, and we need more girls in the industry and more diverse backgrounds. I believe that there's the duty of the women who already are in gaming to actually strive and just empower and be an ambassador of reaching the diversity levels that this creative industry should have. And that's why I'm very thankful to these lovely ladies that they come here, they participate here, and they become ambassadors of our amazing industry in front of all of you. So I would like to just let them introduce themselves. I think the most important thing is at this point for them to explain what they exactly do in the gaming industry, so what their job title is and what their job description is, because I'm sure that not many of you know, boys and girls, the different types and the interesting types of jobs that the gaming industry has. I actually have here a dictionary of jobs in video games. It's in Romanian. It's specifically here given to us by Game Dev Academy. For all the girls out there who would like to take it home, please, after the panel, please come and pick one up. I think it's very instructive and it's very interesting to have. So let's start with Roxana, who is a lead UI artist at Amber. Roxana, if you can introduce yourself and if you can tell them exactly what a lead UI artist is.
Hi, nice to meet you all. I am the lead UI artist at Amber. UI means user interface. So basically I draw the buttons, the screens, the shops, everything that you interact with in the game. It's basically art and a lot of thinking. Thanks.
Cool stuff. We go to Alexandra from EA Romania.
Hi everyone, it's so good to be here with you. I am Alexandra Voinea. I am engineering manager at EA. My day-to-day job comes with a lot of challenges. I'm leading the AI system team within the Frostbite engine. I'm developing along the team. I'm helping them on the technical side, as I have a background on software engineering, and also helping with the project management, helping them to communicate with the game teams that actually support Frostbite engine, that have in their game included, and making sure they are happy at their work, they are communicating good as a team, and that we are delivering what we are supposed to do in a timely manner.
Mm-hmm. That's great stuff. Actually, I want to just pinpoint something very interesting in terms of your job title. As I said before, it's not only a creative industry, the gaming industry, it's also a very digitalized industry, a very technical industry, and gaming in general, it's spearheading digitalization today. Things like AI, things like AR, things like VR, and a lot of the new technology which exists today, and it spreads around any other industry. It actually started with the gaming industry, and that's important. So not only artists are welcome in the industry, but also girls who have an engineering background or want to have an engineering career. One of our guests of honor, Karen from Blizzard, coming from the USA.
Hi, my name is Karen. I work at Blizzard Entertainment. I am a senior cinematic designer there, and what that is I make movies that go inside video games. So while you're playing a video game, and then all of a sudden you see like a little short movie or a cutscene, that's the stuff that I do. So I work a lot with cameras. Sometimes I do coding. Sometimes I work with animations. I essentially take stuff that all the other artists make, and I break it down and then put it back together to make a silly film. So that's what I do.
Karen, if you can also tell us the games that you actually worked on.
While I was at Blizzard, I've worked on Heroes of the Storm. I helped a little bit with Diablo 4, although I can't talk about that. And currently, my primary project is World of Warcraft.
Amazing. Okay, and now Ruxandra coming not as far as LA, but further away than all of us here. She's coming from Cluj, from Game Loft Cluj, and she is a producer, right?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ruxandra. I am indeed a game producer for Cluj Studio, Game Loft Cluj Studio. I think I am a jack of all trades and a liaison between all the departments and all the people involved in actually making games in our studio. And I'm really, really happy to be here with you.
And now we go to Roxana, coming from Ubisoft Romania. Roxana, if you can also tell us the type of games that you work on, that would also be nice.
So, hi, I'm Roxana Tudor. I'm programming technical director for Ubisoft Bucharest. It's a fancy title, but basically what it means is that I am responsible for making the games look as sharp as possible, run as fast as possible, and using the smallest amount of memory possible. Of course, it's not me personal, it's an entire team, but at the end of the day, I am the one that's supposed to be giving the ideas and the directions to follow. It's something that I really enjoy, and hopefully I can convince some of you to follow along the lines. The titles I've worked on have been on the Ghost Recon brand. Some of them have been in Just Dance brand, and these are the most recent.
Okay, cool. And last but not least, I want to lovingly present my partner in crime when it comes to leading the Women in Games community in Romania, Cristina, Neamtu, co-founder of AMC.
Hello. So the game development industry is also a creative one. So I work with AMC Romania, which is an art development studio. I am the CEO. So I basically fire people. Sorry, I was kidding. I'm responsible for the strategy in the company and also for the organizational culture and the values. And I'm very happy to be here with you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So these are our lovely panelists, and now let's get into the actual discussion. Many times I hear from young girls or not so young girls that they would consider at one point joining the gaming industry, but they feel kind of like outsiders because they're not as passionate about gaming in general, or because they haven't thought of that as a career from the very beginning of their early childhood or whatever. So I wanted to find out from you, how did you actually end up in the gaming industry? I myself, for example, feel that I just, fell from the sky from something completely different, and I literally fell from the sky from something completely different, and I felt as an outsider for a long time. I stopped doing that. I think that's very harmful. And I think people need to know in general that these things actually do happen, that you don't have to want to be a game developer since you were 5 years old, right? So if any of you can share your stories about how you ended up in this business, that would be great. Anyone? Okay.
Yeah, I'll start. Let's say mine was an accident, sort of, but wait for it. I was in my final year of college. I had just resigned my job in radio because I wanted to focus on college. I said, well, let's see if I can get anybody to hire me as a programmer. I sent my resume out just to see what an interview would look like. Surprisingly enough, one of the companies called me. I went to the interview, again, purely for the experience. I had no plans of actually getting hired. But surprise, 1 hour later, they said, you're hired, when can you start? Which was a bit of a shock because I had no idea that was going to happen. I accepted, but I was somehow doubtful I could do both final year in college and a full-time job. I said yes, and I stayed there for almost 3 years, which was one of the most intense learning experiences of my life and one of the most fun. This is the accident part, but like I said initially, it's not really the full story, because at the time this was happening, I already had a background of writing my first lines of code when I was about 9 years old on one of the first personal computers in Romania. So in fact, I was somewhat prepared for what was supposed to happen. The lesson here is that it wasn't a chance encounter, but it was more like being prepared for something and just being given the right opportunity at the right moment. And here I am, like more than 15 years later, and I can say I do not regret a single moment of it. So take the chance when somebody gives it to you.
Cool. Karen, how did you end up in the industry?
It's kind of like those stories where you're a little kid and you like playing video games and you want to do video games. But my parents discouraged me from it because they said, we want you to be a doctor because doctors make more money.
Exactly.
I
heard this story so many times.
I didn't actually think I could actually have a career in video games. But when I was 16 years old, I played a game called Final Fantasy VIII, and that became the sort of inspiration for me wanting to get into video games. But at the time, there was no game design curriculum, there were no game design classes, so I didn't know how to get into video games. I just had to do whatever I could to eventually get my way in. So when I was in college, I thought, okay, video games require programming, so maybe I'll take programming classes. So I took a bunch of programming classes, and I realized that I didn't like programming. So afterwards, I thought, okay, video game also has a lot of art, so maybe I'll take some art classes. It turns out I'm not that great at art, but I really enjoy doing art. So I tried to kind of figure out still what I could do, especially since there's no one guiding me and there's no direction that I could take. So I just kept my options open. Like anything that came at me, I would just readily try it. Like, and one thing I learned over the years is to not be afraid to fail and to always just keep trying different things, because you never know like what exactly might fit or what exactly something you might find interesting that's like, oh, hey, I like this thing, so maybe I'm going to keep doing it further. In terms of like Blizzard, I actually wanted to work there for a very long time. And I've been in the games industry for 12 years, and I only started at Blizzard 5 years ago. And I actually did apply to Blizzard 7 times, and they rejected me 6 times. So,
this is a real story of resilience.
Yeah, but I tried to remind myself that with every rejection that I got, I would take that and learn from it, and to just keep making myself better until one day they would finally see that I was good enough to go. So takeaway is like, don't be afraid to try out things and don't be afraid to fail.
That's lovely, Karen. Thank you so much. Alexandra, if you can tell us a bit about, not necessarily how a girl enters the gaming industry, but how an engineer considers coming into the gaming industry. We do need a lot of engineers and a lot of technical people to join the industry and continue the development of our industry. And sometimes it's hard because some of the people believe that actually gaming is just, games and play and not really enough, doesn't give it yourself enough satisfaction in terms of a career, a technical career. Would you think that's the case?
No, for sure.
Okay.
I have a very
I was counting you were going to say that.
I have a very diverse background. So I have a bachelor's degree in computer science. I did master's degree in medical engineering.
Okay.
And my PhD in VR and AR in healthcare. So
okay.
I try them
everything.
all. Yeah, I try to. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So basically, I started computer science. I want to add this. When I first got hired at EA in 2008, actually I was looking for some 3-month job. I got accepted to a scholarship in Germany, and it was like, oh, I needed some money, so I tried this. It was EA, and I was like, EA, come on, what's the chances? Come on, what are the chances? No way. But I was thinking like, what I will lose if I will apply and see what's there as a software engineer. So basically, I didn't have my school finished. I was at the end of my 2nd year, but I got the interview, and even though I still have stoppers, they love my attitude, and actually that was the main focus along the years. Mm-hmm. So basically, after 11 years, I can say I tried non-gaming in just the industry. I've been a few times at Intel. I was in research. Right now, I'm still collaborating with Romanian Academy and the Institute of Biochemistry, but I still came back to gaming industry because it's something that it's really powerful. And I can say that all this experience that I had in gaming industry helped me on other side as well. Well, doing my PhD at the research project, because we had to build a platform. So basically, all the challenges that you have when you need to publish a game, you can find it. You can find similarities on other jobs as well. So jobs in other areas. So it's really not just you're going to enter, I don't know, on the end of the road, and that's it. You have a stamp on your.
That's actually a very important point in terms of the impact the video game and the gaming industry has on other industries is quite huge, as I was saying, in terms of maybe testing out technology, in terms of even, for example, business and learning and education, in terms of gamification, for example. So the impact can be quite overwhelming, let's say. Yeah. So that's a good story to tell.
Actually, I have another one. Doing research and seeing a lot of diseases, because it was in healthcare. A lot of things can have the gamification and the approach of games on different disabilities and how we can improve to overcome them. It was applied with success. So we're not just thinking about, I don't know,
Entertainment, purely
exactly,
entertainment.
it's not
Exactly,
entertainment
it's
only.
not. It's not.
So basically, the games have a great impact on healthcare as well, and can improve how are we assessing various treatments.
Yeah, that's true. A positive impact in the community, and I think we can also have a role in that. Us as women in games, or us as any person in games, should go beyond entertainment, let's say, and make sure that the impact that games have in society is a positive one. I think this is something that Cristina also agrees with, right? Yes. The positive impact gaming can have in the society, and the role that we can have in that.
And the people involved in the game industry can do a lot of things in this direction. So we founded Women in Games Romania this year with the goal of inspiring and attracting girls in the games industry, in the studios in Romania, to work in this industry, and also to get them together and create a community for a greater good, for education. I'm very fond of education.
About it,
yes, and I will talk always about it.
Yes. Roxana, I actually have a story. I was at Gheorghe Lazar, at one of the most important high schools in Bucharest, and there was a girl which had great artistic skills, and I asked her, so what are you going to do next? And she said, obviously I'm going to try and get into the architecture school, because with my talent, what can I actually do to put bread on the table? Which is funny, because there's a lot of architects who join gaming after 6 painful years of studying, and they could have done it before, join gaming just because of this, idea of they can actually make a living out of gaming and not architecture. So I was wondering if you can tell us a bit more about how someone creative, someone who does UI, decides to join the gaming industry.
Well, after 6 years of painful architecture...
Oh, no. I didn't know, I swear. I didn't know.
That you actually didn't want to do, but... Because you wanted to go to arts university, but your parents said, no, you're going to be hungry and starve with an arts diploma. Yeah? So you finish architecture. You don't want to do architecture, and by chance, just a few months after getting my diploma, a friend told me that a gaming company was hiring a graphic designer, junior. And I was like, okay, I know how to draw, I like games, this could be good. And I tried, I interviewed, they hired me, and that was the start of it.
And that's how the story started. That's great. Ruxandra, what I find interesting is to know if you actually knew what a producer is before you became a producer, because I think you didn't, because at least I didn't know.
I had a vague idea, but I had actually no idea.
So when you went applying for the role of producer, so you saw their job opening, producer, like how did that?
I was actually a bit lucky on that, because I was already a QA tester for Gameloft Studio for around 4 years. So being together with the developers and being close to the producers that were in our studio at that time helped me to learn a bit what does a producer do in our studio. And so 4 years ago, I shifted from testing games to producing games in our studio.
That's cool.
And it is challenging, it is amazing, but it's great. It helps.
It is, and your story is very interesting, and it's very similar to a lot of stories of girls and boys who started as game testers, which is the easiest job you can get and the easiest way to actually learn what the video game industry is. A lot of testers who were at first testers became afterwards level designers, game designers, project managers, producers, and so on. So this is actually a job that you can do, I think, also while studying, right?
Also
There's
what?
people also while studying, being a student,
Of course.
for some extra money, and a way to just better understand hands-on what the industry actually is, the job of game tester.
And then also understand the process of making games,
Exactly.
which then will help you in your job.
Exactly. Another thing that I wanted some of you, maybe not all of you, to tell us more about is I told the girls what I think the gaming industry is. This is just textbook stuff, but I would like a few of you to actually tell them what the gaming industry means for you, what type of people you've met here, what positive or negative impact it had in your life, and just a personal view on what the gaming industry is.
Okay, hot seat. Okay, for me, the gaming industry is, I don't know, it feels like home. I can't see myself doing any other job, really. The gaming industry is just something where I can grow and be creative and try out different ideas and just experiment with lots of things. I've met a lot of really good supportive people where I work, and along the way I've like kind of seen myself grow from being somebody who didn't know what they were doing to somebody who has a better idea of what they're doing, and just seeing all these like wonderful creative people around me, it just inspires me more to just do something better and to kind of share that with other people as well.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I pretty much believe the same thing. Even though gaming was definitely not home for me 5 years ago, it feels like that right now. And I also, on a personal note, I would also like to say that I always felt very included. I always felt, even though I was the only girl in the room for many hours a day, I always felt great around the guys around me. I always felt included. They always went the extra mile to help me out, and I think that's absolutely incredible, and I think that's an industry that everyone would like to be in. There's also the idea of what it means to navigate the life of a game developer, or to navigate the gaming industry as a woman. Did you ever have, I don't know, any encounter where it actually was important that you were a woman and not a man? Did you have something to navigate through? Did you have something hard to surpass, let's say, because of being a woman? And if you did, what lesson did you came up with after it? Did it ever happen? I'm wondering if...
This is going to be short. No. So expanding on that, no, it never did happen. And like I said, I've worked here, I've worked abroad, I've worked in mobiles, I've worked in consoles. It was never a question of being a woman or not. It was a question of just being able to get the job done, and being surrounded by smart people around you, and being able to learn from them. It was never a question of who you are, but of what you can actually do.
That's a very important conclusion to come up with especially in front of the young girls here, because it's interesting that, for example, I didn't have any issues with being a woman in the industry. The girls here, it seems that they didn't have either. And so what's interesting then is, why aren't we more? women in games, right? I mean, it's such an, it feels so inclusive. We all have so much fun here. Why aren't there more, right? Why do you think there aren't more women in games?
I have a cute story to add. A few days ago, some of my colleagues were working on some illustrations and 3D houses for a game. And I was sitting next to them and said, "Oh my God, this is so cute, this house is so cute." And they were like, "Oh, Roxana, yes, please tell us. We're doing this for women, so please tell us. Tell us your opinion. It must be cute, so we don't know what cute is. Tell us what's cute."
Well, that's funny, actually, because there's more, in terms of mobile gaming, for example, there's so many women who actually play mobile games, so many women. And it's funny if you think that most of the people actually creating those games are men. So I think having more diverse, more diverse community of game developers will create even greater games for women and men alike. Anything else that you could add in terms of why do you think there's not as many women in the industry as I think we're even lower than the medium ranges for software industry, so we're lower than that, and it's a technical industry and a creative one, and we're still lagging behind. Why?
Okay. I do have something to add on this, but it's more specific to Romania, which is where we don't have schools that teach you game design. We don't have schools that orient you into gaming industry itself. And as people, we grow up with a career in mind, and this career is mostly based on the schools that we have around us.
I think,
and so
very, very good point.
Because we don't have this type of schools here yet, because I'm pretty sure the future will be bright for us, we don't see this as a career. And there are a few of us which are lucky because we get introduced into the industry due to whatever reasons, but still we need to promote ourselves more.
I think that's true. I think that's valid for both boys and girls in the industry in Romania. I think we lack the ecosystem and the educational ecosystem that can bring more people into the industry. And I think sometimes girls just play safer than boys, and that's why there's more boys actually venturing in this wild industry of game development. Not at all wild, by the way, but yeah, I think it might be just that. Cristina, do you have anything to add on this point?
I think also it's about skills. So we are different. Boys and girls are different. So yeah. So I don't believe that the game industry will transform into a women industry. So I think we should focus more than inclusion and diversity. We should focus also on contribution. So I think girls and women can contribute a lot here, and this is where should we go together.
Yeah, that makes total sense, and yeah, it's just interesting. You know, it's kind of like a vicious circle. The fact that the industry is not diverse actually hinders it from becoming more diverse. So I think this kind of informative panels like this, not only for women and girls, but also for boys, make sense a lot. I, as the executive director of the Romanian Game Developers Association, that was hard to say, I think it's one of my main jobs to raise awareness about this industry and about how cool it is for boys and girls alike to join it and make great games together for everyone to enjoy and love. If there's anything more to add in terms of the stereotypes that we face in the industry, I would I think yes, great. You can you can talk about that, and I think Karen can also then maybe tell us a bit more about how these things happen in the States, right? It would be interesting to view to have a view from a very established game development industry. Alexandra first.
Okay. One stereotype that I was facing was when, after 4 years at EA, I joined Intel. And there, I had a few colleagues that were very, not hateful, but not considering gaming industry, as it thought it was only games and was nothing serious, as you told me. A few of them tried a game tester because they thought that when they were students, only as a game tester you could be hired and gain some money, and that was not true, as I was a student and I did my studies for many years while working with some sacrifices as well in software engineering. So I think this was one of the stories that were behind, but you cannot do software engineering if you're a student. No, if you are really good and if you're working and if you give your best, indeed, with some sacrifices, you can do them both. You can go in software engineering as well, not only in game tester or something else. So this was a stereotype that I saw that was happening outside the gaming industry about
the gaming industry.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
As far as like stereotypes go, at least in America, my theory as to like why a lot of girls don't get into gaming is I think a lot of the marketing and media are more centered towards boys or
Very good
males.
point.
And I know that, for example, like in the 80s and 90s, whenever you see like advertising for video games, it's always like, yeah, you can, be a strong commando person or like Rambo or something. And there weren't that many ads for females or girls. But I definitely noticed that there's more of a change in recent years. Like there's definitely more of a push to get women into gaming, to get girls into gaming.
That's such an important point.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of initiatives. Like I know there's Girls Who Code, which is something that right now in America we're trying to encourage younger girls to get into programming. There's also Women in STEM, which is just trying to get more girls into technology. And there's lots of different camps everywhere, at least in America, to just encourage girls that are still in school, like not just college, but in high school and elementary school, to just try them out. And I think those initiatives are really good, and hopefully they'll just get more women encouraged.
I think that's very important. I think when Cristina and I started talking about creating a women games community, whenever I used to talk to guys in the industry, they were always like, "So why do you need it? Do you feel persecuted, or do you feel that you're not included, or do you want to like stir up a fight?" And everyone was like, "No, it's actually the other way around. We believe it's a great industry for women, and we just want to raise awareness about it. It's just we need to tell people more about that. That's it. It's completely the other way around." Yeah, it's.
There is another stereotype which says, "I don't play games, so I don't belong in the industry." This is, again, completely fake.
I had it.
Yeah, you don't have to play games, but you have to be aware of what they mean. So I don't play games all day. I have other things to do, other passions. So I do not have the time to play games each day. But what I can do is I can read reviews, I can watch video on YouTubes, I can read papers, scientific papers. It's not about playing games per se, it's about being aware of the industry and what it means.
It's true. Very true.
It doesn't mean spending your entire free time playing games. It's not about that.
That's very true. And one last question for Cristina because I see we don't have many minutes left, and I just want the girls here, if they have any questions, I would like them to be able to ask some. But an interesting thing that I wanted to ask Cristina, because she has a different take from us here in terms of she is doing actual, so she's doing business development, she's talking selling things in the industry, and I think that's an interesting point of view, you know. So how does it feel to sell things as a woman in the gaming industry to many men?
I thought you never asked. Actually, it removed obstacles. So I think it's an advantage to be a woman. So when I talk...
I believe that too.
Yeah, so everybody's smiling to me, so...
Yeah. It's true.
I think it's easier, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an advantage as well in terms of doing business development, for example, in the industry. Because of this lack of diversity, you know, when the girl comes in the room, they're like, oh, hey. It's nice to feel included like that. So if there's anything you would like to conclude, I think the most important thing would be to just share a message, especially to the young girls here, because we will try to get you more engaged into what the video games industry is, and I think this should be the main starting point and the main call to action, this panel. Let's start from here and then there. And
So for girls that want to do art, the art in games is amazing and you're going to have fun, and please join and do beautiful things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, I want to tell them just to try to seek their passion, and doesn't have to be the greatest love career-wise, because I think us as persons are changing above the years, but we need to find what we have and do it with passion. I actually, again, as Roxana said, I don't play games. I played a few years ago, but not anymore. But man, I did made games with so much passion, and I'm still passionate about it. Even though I'm not there, the gamer 24 and 7 days a day. No, clearly I'm not that person. I am the anti-example for that. But
You're passionate about making games.
Yeah, and I think this is something general. Whatever you do, do it with a lot of passion. Be true to yourself, and try to be the best version of yourself all the time, and do everything with the best, the best work that you can do, because that will be your trademark, and that will open you a lot of opportunities along the years. It doesn't have to be like you see in school. But what this course is going to help me in life? Oh, well, there are a lot of things that can help you. Just find a professional in that area, and he or she can tell you more details, and you can see, but it's just an opportunity for you to see what's there, what's available. So just seek more details, and don't put and say, hey, clearly this is not about me. Just try it. It's like you don't know it until you're doing it, actually. Exactly. Because if you're seeing from a distance, clearly you won't see the challenges, and you won't be able to see what's that actually about. So just try it a little bit. Just give it a few times. I don't know, 3 months, 6 months. Just try it a little bit. Let's see if it's something for
fits.
you. Exactly. It might not be, but at least you tried, and at least you'll have some lessons draw from that, and you'll know further what can you, in which direction you will you'll go next.
Yeah. Thank you, Alexandra.
Just to further reiterate your point, it was a really good point, to just keep trying everything. Definitely don't be afraid of rejection or failure, or people saying no, because you're just trying things. Like, nobody's telling you you can't do anything. Nobody's telling you, you're going to be bad at this, but you know what? You're going to try, and you're going to find out whether or not you enjoy it, or whether you like it, or whether you don't. And that's okay. You don't have to do anything by a certain age, like, oh no, I'm turning 30, I haven't made a AAA game yet. There's no arbitrary limit to that. It's like, I'm almost going to be 40 soon, and I'm still in the industry. Like, you have so much time to experiment and to try lots of different things, and to just figure out what makes you happy. And know that whatever game you make is going to make somebody else happy. Like, the thing that you make is somebody's going to play it, somebody's going to enjoy it, and
that's so
for
cool. That's so cute.
For at least an hour, or even for 5 minutes, you're going to make somebody very, very happy.
Oh.
So I encourage you to just make that game.
you might agree with me, but we sometimes forget to have fun because we are too focused on our jobs. So this is my advice for you. Join the team and let's keep reminding ourselves to have fun.
And it's true, it's a very fun industry to be in. I worked in power distribution before that. And believe me, gaming is a very fun industry to be in.
So gaming, it's going to be a place where you will constantly learn, where you're going to be surrounded by amazing people, creative people, very smart people that can be your role models if you want to. And at the end of the day, you might be a bit tired because it's not the most easy job in the world, but you might find yourself smiling and enjoying your work more than maybe in other areas.
Pursuing your dream is an act of braveness. So I encourage them to be brave and follow their dreams because they know the way. And if you need any help, we're here.
We're here, yeah. And I would like to end also with a message for the girls that are actually in the gaming industry right now, that are here. I think that as the title says, which we don't have here, as the title of the panel says, build the work. No, wait. Build the world you want to work in. I think it's our duty in the gaming industry as women to get the diversity numbers up, and I think that we should do more as a community to make it more diverse. And Cristina and I have created a group on Facebook which is called Women in Games Romania. We're going to try to have meetings to just discuss and empower and try to figure out ways to get the attention of other girls and women who would like to join the industry. So get connected with us, help us out, help yourselves out, help the industry out by bringing on the diversity numbers that the gaming industry actually deserves, because it's a great place to be in as a woman, as a man, as an whatever alien, whatever other things are possible. Yeah. So thank you for everything, and if there are any questions, it would be actually really an honor for us to answer some questions, especially from the young girls here. So be brave, as Cristina said. Be brave and shoot any questions you might have, but not only girls, obviously. Okay. But do we have like a microphone? Should we? Speak really loud then. It's just about raising awareness, I think, and I don't think you have to establish such quotas. You know, it doesn't have to be 50-50. It doesn't have to be 60-40. It doesn't have to be anything. It just has to be the diverse industry that it can be, as diverse as it can be. You know, you don't have to set up some standards that might be hard to achieve.
But
awareness.
We have to find out where the blockages are, because girls drop out school or jobs, and we have to find out why. And this is a job for us, Andrea, to do.
Yes, but not only for the two of us. I want to reiterate that I think we need a more active women in games community for us to be able to do things like this on a regular basis, and not necessarily a Dev.Play, which is an annual event, but in the classrooms and wherever girls are.
Yeah, I want to add here two things. We did at EA a workshop of diversity inclusion a few weeks ago, and it was a statement that was very powerful for me, that if you're not actively including someone, you're actually excluding. And actually, I started to do that because I realized I wasn't that inclusive. I was like, oh, okay, that person. I consider myself very open, but not that open to everyone, and actually try to think about this just to identify my bias and say, hey, I should actively include the people that I'm working with each day, even though they are not on my project, but be even more open with them. And actually this changed it a little bit in the past weeks. Just
this is so very true. I'm very happy that we have this on film, everything we said here, because I have some very interesting quotes I got from all of you here. Yes, that's nice. So if any brave girl would like to say anything, or at least tell us if the panel was interesting for you, and why you came here, that would also be interesting for us to know. And also if you might consider a career in gaming, that would also be interesting. But I mean, we should have this. Maybe we can.
Thanks. Thanks. So I actually have a question for Karen. I already work in the gaming industry. I don't have any comments right now. Because you said you're the only one who wanted to be part of the gaming world since you were very little. I just wanted to know, who did you have as a role model and why?
I actually didn't have a role model. I hadn't had one for a really long time because there were no role models for me at the time when I was growing up. I just kind of, like, it was a bit hard for me to actually think that I could succeed in the games industry. I just kind of had to push myself to do it. And I didn't see it as sort of like a gender thing, like, oh, I have to do this because I'm going to be like the only girl in the industry, or because, you know, I have to break ground or anything. But I just really, really wanted to make games. And I didn't see gender as a barrier to doing that. And the only barrier for me was to kind of figure out what should I learn, what subjects should I study, which company should I get my foot in the door. As far as role models go, I kind of just...
You found a great one.
No, I just had to like kind of tell myself like, hey, I really want to be in this industry, and nobody's going to tell me no, that I can't be in it. I just have to figure out like how to get in and just see like the best way to put my foot in the door. So yeah, I know it's not like a glamorous answer, but yeah.
That's cool. Anyone else? Anything? If not, we're just going to be here around. I've seen it last year as well. The girls will feel like they would rather come up to you when you're not on stage and ask a question. So we're around. We're around if there's anything. And there's these dictionaries here with careers in game development. Please take some of them. Just find out what this is all about. If you're still on Facebook, because I've heard the younger generation isn't on Facebook anymore, but if you are, then you can join our Women in Games Facebook group, and Women in Games Romania Facebook group, and find out more about the things that we're going to start doing. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Bye.